welcome back to another Vlogmas video. It's just a few more days left to Christmas, and I'm sure we all have a lot of stuff we still have to do. You might still do Christmas shopping, you might still be having to clean curtains. I for one still have to clean my curtains. I'm so happy I cleaned my blankets that have been in baskets and stuff like that, and I'm going through the washing as well because the washing bin just never gets empty. I don't know what it is, and I haven't cleaned at all. I mean, cleaning has been the pain of everyone's existence. Today I want to do some organization. So if you don't know, I am such a big fan of organization. Now don't get me wrong, my house isn't always organized, and I mean, you can't always keep a tidy home. So there are days where I clean and it's good, and then within a few days it's all messed up. Like literally as I'm staring at my lounge, I can see all the crap that's there. But I love the home edit, I love Maria Kondo, I love those things, and I do have things like bins and stuff in designated areas so that I know under my sink all my supplies, like my cleaning supplies and stuff is there, and they're all in specific bins. The same with like all our back stock. I use it in various areas in our homes, but there's 3 areas that I have to fix before the new year, which is my bedside table, the so-called vanity that we have, because as you know, we live in a very small apartment, so I don't have an area where I can house all of our underarms and sprays and my hair accessories. So we have a little cubby in our cupboard where Court and I have our individual deodorants and stuff. And then the other area that we're gonna fix is our media console. So it's one part open, one part closed. And the closed part, there is a organization bin, but it's got like all arts and crafts and party things and whatever. But dumped in there also is all our games and candles and solar lights, as you know, load shedding, and just a bunch of random things that I want to just have in designated bins. So I want to show you the bins that I particularly like. I like the acrylic bins. Like, they are a lot pricier, but I know that if I move from here, you know, and for years to come, they're gonna be in great condition. These are the bins that I have for the bedside table and also for the vanity. I love these bins. These I get at Mambo's, and I also use these in my desk table where I have all my stationery and stuff. I love like bullet journaling and things like that, so you'll see washi tapes and cookies and all of those things. So I'm going to use this for that. And if you want these I specifically only find at Mambo's. I don't know where else you can find them. And then for the bigger stuff, which is like the arts and crafts and the games and stuff things, I like using these pantry storage holders. It's like this. You get this at Mr. Price Home. You can get the home edit ones at home, but they're very expensive, like 600 rand for something like this, which I paid 150 rand, you know what I mean? And I actually use a lot of these, which is like under my sink, in my pantry, for my baking supplies and all like the soup, like the chips and stuff. And then you can use these other bins that I find at Game as well. They're a lot more cheaper, and I do use them as well, and those are like I think 40 or 50 rand. And then I found these ones. This is also for like kitchen things, but I'm gonna use this actually for inside this cubby situation. If I don't use any of this stuff, I can just return them. It's not a biggie. But yeah, those are the things that we're gonna work with. So let's get cracking and let's do some little bit of organization. Okay, I managed to squash them in and it fits perfectly now. So let me start putting my stuff in. Okay, done. And I like it because now when I open it, it doesn't move. Because I don't have a lot of space in my apartment in general, I have to keep certain things in here. So obviously my books are always on my nightstand, and then I've got all my bookmarkers and some weird cards, these sticky notes when I make notes in my books. I've just got some earrings over there, this cuticle balm, my lip balm that I use at night, my reading light that Courtney got me when it's load shedding and I want to read at night, a pen, my nail clipper, all my nail polishes are here. And then in this one it's just our like ID documents, and then some of my sunglasses. For my so-called vanity, I am gonna take all of this stuff out. These are Courtney's stuff, these are my stuff, and then all my hair accessories and stuff is over here. And as you can tell, I've got a shelf riser in here because I utilize both the space and underneath it. I'm gonna take this out, have it cleaned, and start organizing. Okay, I'm quickly taking a break. It's 1:30. I'm load shedding at 2 o'clock, so I quickly just made me some lunch, which is lettuce, chicken breast strips, cucumber, and red onion with a tiny bit of mayonnaise, some water because I haven't had water at all today, and it was hot. So I'm quickly just gonna watch something and then get back to the organization.
Housetop reindeer paws, out jumps good old Santa Claus, down through the chimney with lots of toys, all for the little ones' Christmas joys. Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Up on the housetop, click, 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 down through the chimney with good Saint Nick.
Oh my word, this looks so much better, don't you agree? So I've got my stuff, Courtney's stuff over here, and then I've got sanitary towels, you know, hair accessories, and then just at the back there are those inner soles of mine. I've got all of my pins and different hair clips I have, and then that little bag over there has all the makeup that I never use. And I mean, I should go through that, but this just looks so much more organized, and I can get stuff now without crap falling out. I can get these things, I can reach for this stuff much more easier, and I really like this. So let's go to the last little space and then we can talk about my health. So we have the last section, and as you can see, I do have a bin already there for all my arts and crafts. I'm just gonna take all of this out. It's not as bad as what I'm thinking it is, but it can do with a little bit of honing stuff in and defining where things should be. Wow, look how neat and tidy this looks. Such a big difference. All the arts and crafts are there. Those are thread that's in there. So I want to get a different type of closed lid situation, and then have all of my thread and needles and things like that. Yes, I do a little bit of sewing when there are holes in our clothes. This one is all the games, matches, we all know, for the candles, and then some party items over there because I don't host a lot, so it was all the leftover things of Courtney's 30th. And then just in this little slither of a space, I have Courtney's little speaker, which I think is broken. I think it more or less works, but I'll check with him. And then this is just the box for our rechargeable lantern, which we use for load shedding. It's actually on top of there because we use it now at night. This just looks so much better. So I just woke up from an hour-long nap. While I was busy doing all of this bending and cleaning and doing the organizations, I could just feel a sharp pain hit the back of my neck, and I knew I had to take a pain pill and just go sleep it off, because that's the pain of my existence. Like, I can't bend and do normal activities such as cleaning and things like that. Even though I have to clean, I have to do multiple chores, but that's often what happens when I do it, and then I just get sharp pains or some sort of weird sensation in my brain. But I thought I could do this puzzle. I bought this over the weekend. It's a 300-piece puzzle. So I'm gonna do this puzzle while I chat about my health, because I've been speaking in riddles the last kind of 2 weeks, and I know some people have been sending me messages and, you know, giving their maybe ideas of what might be wrong with me, or you know, you guys are having sort of the same symptoms as me, and saying, you know, you guys have, you know, these type of illnesses that could be associated with what could be wrong with me, and I appreciate that so much. I know you're on new faces, so I want to just give kind of like a synopsis of more or less what has been going on with me, and then I can kind of tell you, I think the last part is when I started seeing a neurologist and kind of what has been progressing with her specifically. So for those who are unfamiliar with what has been going on with me health wise, since I've been a teenager up until varsity, and when I've been dating Courtney and in our marriage, I've always had headaches, and I would just always pop a pill and it would move along. But in the beginning of this year, I remember I was in Wilderness. We did a road trip to Craddock with Alfred Wilderness, and my 2 fingers had gone numb, and I ended up going to a GP. We decided to do my iron and B12, and the results came back that both of it was extremely low. So he put me on an iron supplement. I ended up getting B12 injections, but he also put me on a contraceptive because my period is quite heavy when I do go through menstruation. And funny enough, in the beginning of the year, because I spoke about, like, you know, birth control options, and I was leaning more towards the injection, but when he gave me this contraceptive, I was like, okay, cool. And it was bad on my part because I didn't research the pill he was giving me. I didn't research the side effects. I just, cool, I'll just take it. So 2 months later, went back and we tested again the iron and B12. B12 was okay, but he still wanted me to go on B12 injections for, I think, 2 months. The iron was still low, so he upped my iron supplement. I would say the end of May, June and July, I then started having literally headaches every 4-5 times a day. So you can imagine how many pain pills I was consuming, and the pills I was using was mostly, you know, Adcodol and then Genpain, and they both have codeine in, which codeine is a very addictive drug or substance. That was like food for me at this point. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to the doctor during those times because everything was out of pocket for me. I didn't have medical aid. I have it now, but I didn't have medical aid. We also had a weird time in terms of finances in that period, where there was so many issues with the car, and then we had to pay this and that, and food was expensive, and we were literally just trying to balance our finances. I couldn't really go to the doctor. Just before I decided to go back to the GP, I decided to go cold turkey by stopping every single pill I was using besides the contraceptive, which I was like, I don't know why, I just thought this thing worked. I just kept bananas. I remember going to the shop and then changing my whole diet, buying whole wheat and multigrain and multi-seed this and that, and I thought it might be my diet because I was also consuming a lot of caffeine. I was having probably 5 or 6 cups of coffee a day. I mean, it was winter time for us, and obviously it's cold, so I also stopped the coffee. I only drink coffee now once a day. Anyway, I just decided to change my whole diet because I thought maybe my diet was the issue with the headaches I was experiencing. I ended up going back to my GP, and he just was not interested in anything that I had to say anymore. I remember him saying that I needed to go for an MRI, but an MRI is exceptionally expensive. It costs around 15 to 20,000 rand to do an MRI, and I don't have that type of money. So I was like, that's not an option. But if it's like really like the last thing I have to do, then I can make a plan. And he again just was like, listen, I just want to do the B12 and iron again. He didn't want to listen to other issues that it could be, because we were like, why don't you just test me for everything that would cause headaches, like magnesium and vitamin D and C? And we were just like, do all the blood tests. And he was like, nope, he just wants to do iron and B12. And then when I got there, I had this weird, almost like a vessel or an artery that was, it was just pressured like this. It felt like it wanted to burst. So I told him about it, and he was like, no, he doesn't think that that's any of concern, let's just do this. So I went home. It was the middle of the night, and I told Courtney, I just feel so uneasy with this pain. I keep thinking it's gonna burst. I'm thinking it's a brain aneurysm. I literally obviously went to the worst case scenario. Take me to the hospital. So obviously I had to go to a government hospital. We ended up sitting there for like 10 hours, only for them to tell me that they don't want to do a CT scan on me because they don't want to expose me to radiation, and they think it might be temporal arthritis. Now, temporal arthritis is often for people who are like from 50 and onwards, so it's so unlikely diagnosis that someone would tell me that. So I ended up coming home, and my GP, funny enough, phoned me with the result that, you know, my B12 was fine but my iron is still low, and so he wants to put me on a new supplement. So I was like, listen, I just bought a new bottle of my old iron supplements. He's like, okay, I can finish that and then get the new script. So I told him, hey, you know, I just came from the hospital, this is what they're saying. And he starts screaming at me, saying, do they know that I don't have medical aid, and if they think it's temporal arthritis, we can do a special blood test to determine if I do have it. So by then I was so uneasy with just his whole attitude, because already when I saw him, he just was not interested in me anymore. He wasn't interested in the case or to even figure out what was wrong with me. So I ended up going to the freezer for my birthday, and I was in so much pain, and you will never know this from the videos, like of all the towns that we visited, but I was literally, my whole scalp was so sore. I would be sitting in the car crying with just the amount of pain I was going through. And also the freezer is exceptionally dry, so I was experiencing like a dry nose, my ears were sore. It was really a bad time. Like on my birthday, I was literally sitting in Philippolis and I was crying because the pain was just so bad. And then Courtney was like, listen, you've tried everything, you've changed your diet, you started drinking more water and cutting out sugary drinks and doing all of those things, and what is like the one thing that we haven't changed? And so I was like, well, I'm still using this contraceptive. So while we were on the trip, I was also on my period, which was like so crap. So I stopped the contraceptive, and unfortunately my period ended up lasting that whole trip, the whole 10 days. And then we were in Hanover in the Northern Cape. I then experienced severe abdominal pain on my right side. The minute I got home, I found my friend who did have an appendicitis, and I phoned her. I was like, oh, what do you think is my appendix? And she's like, no, it's not that. But I told her that I stopped my contraceptive, and she had gone through multiple birth controls, so I told her which brand I was on, and she then googled, which I feel like such a fool for not googling or doing research into what this contraceptive is, and the #1 side effect is migraine. Imagine giving that type of pill to someone who's already complaining about headache. I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna see another GP. I'm going to not consult with the old one anymore. Went to a new one, which was still in the same building. It's because the reason why I did that was because they had my history, and so I ended up going to a woman, explained my story. She can see obviously on the system like what has been recommended, all the blood work I've done, and she's like, she can't believe that he gave me this contraceptive and the fact that he didn't ask me about it. She then said, okay, I think you should go to a physio. So I was like, oh, I don't really have the money for the physio. So I ended up just buying like a memory foam pillow to help with the neck, because a lot of my headaches were stemming from the back of my neck. Then she gave me a muscle relaxer, and then we did blood work to see if I have temporal arthritis. But it's not a definite thing. They just check to see if you've got inflammation in the blood. So they did the test, came back, I did not have inflammation in the blood, which means I don't have temporal arthritis, but there was something called, I can't recall what the name is. I'll put it here what the blood work was, and that was exceptionally high. And so she referred me to a neurologist, and she was trying to contact someone at Grooteskeer. Now she has no power in terms of like trying to source someone from a government hospital, because who am I to go in front of other people? So I knew she couldn't do anything. So I remember realizing that #1, I'm starting to get migraines once every month. So I remember getting it in September, and the next day I decided to go back to my GP, and I was like, this is what's happening. So she's like, I think you need to go and see a neurologist privately. She also was like trying to figure out what else is sort of going on, because by then I wasn't getting as much headaches as before. I was now getting severe pain in my head, like my temples, weird sensations in my brain, weird tingling, lots of pressure behind my eyes, lots of pressure in terms of like, you know, just here, like it feels like a vein is being squashed or something. We figured out that I had a cavity. So cavities or any sort of dental things can also play with your nerves. So she put me on an antibiotic, told me you have to go and fix your tooth. I ended up fixing my tooth, and she said, well, once you fix your tooth, give it a week or so and see if I see any difference, because maybe the tooth was, you know, kind of acting up on the nerves. And the sensation and weird tingling in my head disappeared, but I was still in a lot of pain and still getting these weird pains in different areas on my head. I decided to consult with a neurologist. I think that's where a lot of you have caught up on. I went to a neurologist, which is privately, and whew, is it expensive also to see a neurologist, because I have a long history of headaches, and the referral letter that I got from my GP, you know, also mentions headaches. She only focused on the headaches, but by then when I had got into her office, it was no longer a headache situation. It ended up for me a nerve situation. She only focused on that and said, you know, she did an examination, because the consultation's an hour. She did all the exams, looked at everything, checked my eyes specifically, because obviously I was complaining about a lot of pressure behind my eyes. Yeah, the electricity just went back on. She only focused on that, and she said, look, she thinks I fall in what they call the primary sort of headaches, which is your tension headaches, your migraines, and your cluster headaches. And then in their terminology, you know, you get the secondary part, which is like brain tumors, brain aneurysms, and all those more serious type headaches. So she thought I fell in this primary one. So she asked me to do blood work to check if it's maybe my thyroid that's an issue, to see if I maybe have diabetes, and also to check the iron, because by then I stopped the iron supplement that I was on, because I realized that that iron supplement was causing also weird sensations in my head. So I stopped it. I ended up doing the glucose test, which is like for 2 hours. You have to sit at the hospital for 2 hours. She also then put me on what they call like an antidepressant. So antidepressants is not just for depression, it's used for a lot of things like headaches, migraines, anxiety. So she put me on a low dosage first for a few days, a medium dosage for a few days, and now I'm currently on the high dosage. So when she got my result, I did not have a thyroid issue, and my iron ended up all of a sudden being fine. But my glucose, which is for diabetes, was what they call impaired, meaning that I don't have it right now, but I am at risk of getting it in like the next few years. Hence why she didn't recommend it. She didn't want to put that pressure. She just said, listen, I think you might have to go on this Mediterranean style diet. Hence why I've been on this Mediterranean style diet. So I decided to do that. I was on a few days on the high dosage of these pills, and in one of my Vlogmas videos I speak about my head is on fire. So my head started being on fire, and I told Courtney, like, I don't know what's going on, and he's like, okay, monitor it, see if you're gonna get it the next day. That morning, like at 3 o'clock in the morning, I started having severe facial pain, like specifically on my cheekbones, on my eye orbit, to the point where it was making me nauseous. So the following day, I kind of fine. I was still having pain on my cheekbones, but then the afternoon, I mentioned again, you know, my head is on fire. So I emailed my neurologist, because she wanted to only see me again in February of next year. And I emailed, and I'm like, listen, this is what I'm experiencing. Like, should I be worried? Like, I think I should see you, you know, still before the end of this year. And she's like, yeah, I think you need to see me. So I have seen her now last week Thursday. She did all of her examinations. I told her about the new symptoms I was experiencing, and as I was sitting in her office for the last 2 days, I was experiencing severe earache. I sat there, she did all the stuff. She said, listen, all the normal functionality in terms of like nerves and things are totally fine. Because of these new symptoms, she's now wanting me to do an MRI. So my medical aid only kicked in on the 1st of December, and I was like, oh my gosh, well, my medical aid covered it, and they wanted me to do it on the spot. They wanted me to do the MRI. So the PA was trying to phone to see if I could get an emergency MRI done. My husband's on the phone with a medical aid, seeing if they will cover this MRI. She's like, listen, I wanted to have it now done, because she's going on leave, obviously, for the Christmas break. She's only coming back on the 9th. All of these things, and I'm just sitting there like, oh crap, like finance, like all I'm thinking about is money, because that is the biggest issue with health, you know, especially if you I don't come from money. I am trying to save, but I don't have MRI kind of money. I mean, I do in terms of investment policies, but I don't want to take my investment policy out to cover this expense. Unfortunately, they couldn't see me. It was too late in the afternoon. Courtney came back with our medical aid saying that they actually cover it. The co-payment's only 500 rand, which is such a relief and a weight off my shoulders. And then she said, okay, when can I do the MRI? And I said, on the 9th of January. That's when I go back to work, and that's when she comes back. And then she was like, well, if my symptoms get a lot worse in the next 2 weeks, I immediately have to go to an emergency casualty situation, get the MRI done, and I actually have to source a new neurologist, which I don't want because I've already developed a relationship with now what I call my neurologist. So it's scheduled for the 9th of January when I go back to work. I actually have to still tell my boss, but I'll tell her closer to the time, and I'm hoping that my symptoms are not gonna get worse than what they already are. So that is where we at, and I'm really hoping that when we do the MRI that she, I don't know if I want her to find something. It's more just so that I can get clarity. I hope that this MRI will give some clarity as to why I am experiencing the things that I'm experiencing, because I can't function, I can't do normal things, and I can't go in group settings anymore after the whole situation being with my mother-in-law and Panarottis and the whole family and everyone there and the noise. I decided that that was the last function that I'm going to. You know, come 2023, I'm no longer going to be doing those type of things, which is really sad because I'll miss a lot of moments and special occasions. But at the end of the day, I have to consider my health because, like I mentioned in the previous vlog, I came home and I collapsed, and that was the first time that it was a scary moment for not only me but for Courtney as well. So I'm currently still on the high dosage pills, and then I'm also on new pills that are specifically triggered for nerves. So far since that incident, I've been okay. I've just had neck headaches now the last 2 days. The summer is also just not going to be great for me in terms of just headaches, which I've always known, but now it's just exacerbated to a point where I can't be a normal person, or I guess my normal self, because now Courtney and I were speaking and we realized that we're both having to adapt, because it's a struggle for Courtney as well, because, you know, we used to be okay and doing all of these activities and things, and he has to adapt to the fact that 1 minute I'm normal and the next I just am over the fence with pain. Like, I will be standing in the shopping line and I am looking like I'm gonna faint. And so for him, it's like he has to go from my wife was okay to my wife is not okay. So it's a struggle. So I really hope that we find the cause in the beginning of next year as to what has been going on with me. I didn't even start this puzzle, but I'm gonna work on it now. That is the crux of what has been going on with me. Well, I am gonna upload one of my Vlogmas videos. I've got a cup of coffee. I'm gonna edit this video now, so I've got a lot of editing ahead of me, and I hope that I can just go and chat away, and I will see you guys in the next Vlogmas video. I can't believe that it's almost Christmas and I've not cleaned a single thing other than doing this organization stuff and doing some washing. I haven't like deep cleaned like I used to, but I think it's just because I'm not in the mood. I don't think I'm gonna be doing it this year. I'll maybe just clean the back of the couch, but that is it. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please make sure to subscribe. I know there's a few of you that watch my videos and have not hit that little red button, so please do so, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.